Out tonight. We really appreciate your interest in this project. My name is Jill Allreed. I'm volunteering as the facilitator tonight to make sure that all of you have your messages heard. And we will follow the process of answering all of the questions. We do not have a time in this meeting where questions will be answered, or if someone shouts out the question, that it will be acknowledged, because that's just disrespectful to everyone else. So we will stick with that model so that we can get to every single person's question, and then the folks will be up here after the meeting to answer any specific things that you might have. But the time is coming up where our community will have the opportunity to vote on this question regarding having an indoor aquatic facility. I know there's been 2 previous meetings. We've had full houses for those meetings. It's been wonderful to see neighbors and interested citizens coming to have questions answered. There's a lot of misinformation that has been floated out, and I think that's become less and less and less because people like you are coming to get the facts. And tonight, you'll have the opportunity to see some of that detailed information. You have experts here that introduce themselves here very shortly. And there's always, with questions, go to the Park District of Oak Park, the pdop.org website, where there's extensive information, a question and answer section, details about the projects, details about the surveys, all of the information that we hope will help you be an informed voter, because that's really what this is moving to. It is your decision. It is up to the community to say yes or no. And tonight is, here's some information that may help you weigh in and make that decision however you vote. So I'd love to have our team of folks up here introduce themselves. I will start with Jan and then come back to Jan.
Hello, I'm Jan Arnold, Executive Director for the Park District of Oak Park. I am also a resident of Oak Park. I've been a resident since 2009 and Executive Director since 2012.
Hi, I'm Cassie Pareka. I'm a commissioner. I'm currently president of the board and I've been on the park board for 11 years.
My name is Chris Wolmuth. I'm also on the board and I'm also an architect as my day job.
Caitlin Culbertson, Elrod Friedman, I'm the attorney for the Park District.
I'm Jeff Andreessen. I'm with Acuity Research. We've conducted the last couple of community-wide surveys for the Park District.
I'm Maureen McCarthy. I'm the Deputy Director of Recreation at the Park District.
Mitch Coleman, Director of Business Operations at the Park District.
All right. So good morning, everyone. Again, I'm Cassie Pareka. I want to thank you all for coming to the information session tonight. We are asking voters in this spring's election to make a binding decision about whether or not we should build a new indoor pool replacing the outdoor pool at Ridgeland. I have to say the agency does not have an official stance for or against this project, and the purpose of these information sessions is not to try to influence or sway your vote in any particular direction, but to inform residents of the facts behind the referendum decision, to encourage residents to be familiar with answers in the FAQ document on the Park District website, to use the tax calculator on our website so they can understand the potential economic impact to their own household, and to make their own informed decision and then to vote their choice. Staff have prepared a brief presentation, and after the presentation, we will take time to answer the questions that have been submitted. Any questions that we don't get to, as well as any new questions, will be added to the FAQs located on the Park District website. But at the previous 2 meetings, we have been able to answer all the questions and stuck around afterwards for individual questions as well. So now I'd like to turn it over to Jan Arnold, the Executive Director of the Park District.
Good evening again. So I want to walk through some of the information and hopefully explain maybe a lot of your questions so we'll get answered in the process. But if you do have questions and you're filling out the cards, just pass them to the end, and Maureen will be picking those up as we move forward. So how we got to this point. So as Jeff said, Acuity conducted some community surveys for us back in 2019 as well as in 2023, asking about facilities and specifically asking about an indoor pool at the 2023 survey. Additionally, asking if in fact they would be willing to raise taxes, and we'll talk about that in a little bit. Then we moved on to our comprehensive strategic master planning process. This took place all of 2024. We held a variety of different community meetings. We had focus group meetings, we had key stakeholder meetings, asked a lot of questions in regards to how the Park District, or what the Park District should be doing for our community. And they utilized that information in order to prepare a document that was presented to the Park District Board in 2025, which included the recommendation for going to a referendum for an indoor pool in 2026. Additionally, we evaluated the conditions of the pool and the pool shell. I want to let everyone know, and I'll probably say this multiple times, but the pool shell is from 1962. It has not changed since it was actually installed. So a lot of people have asked, you just did a redo in 2013, 2014, you did a new pool. We didn't do a new pool. We did do some concrete work. We put a new toddler playground, water playground pool together, but it was not any work done to the conditions of the main shell and diving well. And we'll talk about that again in a little more detail. And then lastly, the Park District Board asked staff to pull together a pro forma looking at the cost to operate, because we do know it costs more money to operate an indoor pool than an outdoor pool. Also, we looked and visited a variety of different indoor pools in the area in order to see how those operations took place. And then we worked to create a concept. And again, the diagram that we have today is a concept of what an indoor pool would look like. You have to have a concept in order to be able to price it. So if in fact this community votes to go to, votes yes for the referendum, then there will be community meetings which will help to finalize what will be in that facility and within the $40 million, and then that is what will be built. Again, the board voted in December, I think it was December 19th of 2025, to bring the question to the community, because again, this is such a big decision and something that we have heard for 20 plus years, but it's definitely a decision that needed to be made by the community as a whole. So talking a little bit about the surveys that I mentioned. So in 2019, the survey was really asking what amenities and facilities would you like to see in your community. I know it's small, so but I will read it to you, and it's also on our website. So the residents said, 46% said they'd like to see a fitness center, 43% an indoor pool, 39% an indoor track, 33% an indoor lap pool, 22% gymnasium space, 20% a warm water pool, and 11% indoor pickleball courts. So you sit in this beautiful facility, Community Recreation Center, that was open in May of 2023, and I'm happy to say that any of those that are land-based are included in this building. So we in fact have a fitness center, we have a walking track, we have gymnasium space, and they can play pickleball upstairs. So those were all accomplished. So then in 2023, when we went and did a survey, we asked the residents, is there a willingness to pay for an indoor pool? And 35% strongly supported, 34% supported, 17% opposed, and 14% strongly opposed. So these are some of the tools that we use when deciding that an indoor pool was something that a majority of the community was looking for, and hence got to the point where we're at today, which is going for a referendum. As I talked about earlier, in 2024, we did our comprehensive strategic master plan, and part of that was actually conducted by 110% where they did pop-up events. We did have some community meetings. Those were held at Cheney Mansion. One of the things that was asked is in 2050, what do you want the Park District Board to know or the Park District to know? And the indoor pool kept coming up over and over again. They asked for it to be well lit and ventilated. So again, the importance of having an indoor pool that can be used by the community continue to come up. And so then we did some pop-up events. And so I said, be clear to the consultants, ask if they want an indoor pool and ask if they're willing to pay for it with an increase in taxes. They did these pop-up events at the Taylor Park Tennis Courts, Buzz Cafe, Movies in the Park at Scoville, Fairgrounds Cafe, so a variety of different places. And while this survey was not statistically valid, 73% came up with the yes in this. So 69% was the survey in 2023, 73% was the survey through these pop-up parks. So the status of the current pools. So unfortunately, we weren't able to open the new amenity at Ream Pool this past summer, but we're excited to be opening it in May of this year. And that actually added 224 to the bather load. So if you remember the diving well, the most you could put in there at any time was 4. And so with the new amenity, which are the slides, the resistance current, the lily pad crossing, as well as just the open water aspect, that has increased the bather load that we can actually have at Ream Pool. As I said, the shell at Richland is from 1962, and it was not changed when it was renovated. So when the renovation was taking place, the Park District Board, and none of those individuals are still on the Park District Board today, but they were looking at, they had a set amount of money, and they were looking at the renovation that they wanted to do at Ridgeland Common. They decided that, based on the information they had, that the shell of the pool had approximately 20 years of life left. That was about 14 years ago, 15 years ago. And so the Park District Board at the time decided that they would do the nominal or minimal improvements, which with the rearrangement of where the entrance was, that's why they had to relocate the baby pool. But they did not touch the main shell, again, and that was because they were working with the funds that they had available to them at that time. Also, for those of you who have been around a while, you might know that the pool at Ridgeland Common actually served as the cooling agent for the ice rink. So what would happen is the ice rink would only operate during the winter time, and the heat from that would go into the pool, so the pool always had water in it. So if you drove by in February, you would see a body of water there. And that was because that was being used as the cooling agent. Because we actually operate the ice rink year-round now, we don't have that ability, and therefore there's not water that's maintained in that pool. So it has since experienced freeze-thaw, which is causing it to fail at a more rapid rate than what we initially determined. We do estimate that the cost of that repair is going to be somewhere around $10 million, and this is in our capital improvement plan to take place in 2031. Again, with the timing and looking at the planning and what we've heard from the community, that's why the plan is coming to you today to say, do you want to have an indoor pool in the location of Ridgeland Common? Yes. If the answer is yes, then we build an indoor pool at that location. If the answer is no, then in 2031, we'll be using our capital improvement funds in order to make the necessary repair. The summer pools provide approximately 3 months of use, and even in the early June or late May when we open, it can be a little chilly, but we do operate it for 3 months, and that is both of the pools. And the summer swim lessons, aqua fitness camps are currently held at Ream Monday through Saturday mornings, and then Monday through Friday evenings at Ridgeland Common are the swim lessons, and we shut it down usually at 4 o'clock to allow for that. If there's a rain out, then we have makeups on Friday. If not, then we open it for public swim. So the indoor concept, again, this is a concept, and based on the information that we heard from the surveys and the things that people were looking for, we look to what I will call as 3 bodies of water. I just want to be clear that these elements, so as I said, it would be a ridgeland common, which would not require any additional land. One of the things that I think is important for you to know is that a community our size, population size, should have approximately 550 acres of green space. We have 83. And therefore, we are not looking to take any green space out. We're always looking to figure out how we can add it. And unfortunately, as one of my board members says, often there's no land stretchers around. And so the reality is that we want to make sure that we take care of the land that we actually have. So the therapy pool would be a body of water that could be used for rehab, for infant swim, for water aerobics. There's also an illustration to show that you could do some lap swimming in there as well. And then the pool, the larger pool body, would be used for lap swimming. That's the one on the bottom. So, but think about it, it's not just a lap pool. Think about Ridgeland and Ream as we have it today. We lap swim in the morning, and then we take those lanes out, and then we use it for community, and it would be the exact same thing. So it would be used for swim lessons, aqua fitness, community play, open swim. We could put some whippets or inflatables in there for teens and kids to play on. So a variety of different uses in that space. And then the kids play. And so we identified it as like a splash pad with water components and runoff slides. The benefit of a runoff slide is a child doesn't need to know how to swim in order to do the runoff slides. We have heard feedback from individuals that they would like to see more of a shallow type pool, like an 18 to 24 inch, similar to what's in the outside at Oak Brook. And so if that's what the community decides during the planning process, if the community votes yes, then definitely that's what we'll look at. So again, concept and 3 different structures from that standpoint. This camps, swim lessons, and aqua fitness classes will be moved indoors to minimize the weather disruptions. And as far as the occupancy, we currently operate at 550 for Ridgeland Common. Based on the analysis that was given to us, this pool could actually operate at 850. Again, that does take into account, people being on the deck, people being in the locker rooms, those types of things. One of the things that I've heard people say is that this is a small pool compared to what Richland is. The reality is this is approximately 10,000 square feet of water space, and currently we have approximately 10,000 square feet of water space. So it's just separated differently, but if you think about it, the footprint that we're using is the existing footprint, and therefore the water would be pretty much equal. And having an indoor pool provides year-round access for our community to be able to access that space morning, noon, and night, Monday or Sunday through Saturday, providing opportunities for learn to swim, aqua, lap swim, a variety of different opportunities in the community. So I added this slide. So this is a new slide. I see there's a few faces in the crowd that have been here before. But one of the things I wanted to do is make sure that I pointed out some of the most frequently asked questions that we get through our referendum at email address, as well as in this room. And so I just covered the first one, which is the pool size. So again, if you look on the left-hand side, you can see that there's and we divided it in a third, right? A third. And so the reality is it might be, I don't know, 20%, 40%, 20%. I don't know, we would, or 40, 20. So these are the concepts, but the square footage is 10,000 square feet, which is approximately the same. One of the things I also heard people say is what about the locker rooms? So I don't know if you can see number 7 up there, but Chris, can you point to it straight? Right there, 7 right there. So that is the locker room, and the concept would be similar to here at the Community Recreation Center, where we have individual changing rooms so that it is an inclusive design. Again, part of the concept from that standpoint. Someone also asked about the 2 fitness rooms that are currently there. There would still be 2 current fitness rooms, as well as addition of 2 spaces that could be used for birthday parties or other programming from that standpoint. So I just covered again What we would use those spaces for, 25-meter lap pool. I know people love the outdoors and love the 50-meter, but again, there's not a lot of those 50 meters around, but there would still be one at Ream, and it would continue to be operated for our lap swimmers. We have talked about the fact that we would definitely keep the morning lap swim opportunity. Some people have asked about the evening. So again, we haven't done any programming around what would be at each hour. So if that's what the community asked for, then we would figure out how we can make that work. The other aspect is about a retractable roof. So people have asked me, have I looked at a retractable roof? The answer is yes, I did ask. The answer is that it would cost approximately $3 to $6 million for that feature. So that is not that I could put a retractable roof on there for $3 to $6 million. It is that it would cost an additional $3 to $6 million to have a retractable roof. And all that would need to be done within that $40 million. So we would look at that as a concept. We would look at all the different options. And if that's what rose out, we were still able to afford it with the $40 million, then that could potentially be looked at. But it is not something, someone was confused and said that I said that I could just cover for $3 to $6 million. That is not what I meant, if I was misunderstood, but it's 3 to 6 additional to have that feature component. The other one is in regards to why can't you just cover the current pool? So one of my staff kind of thought about it this way, so maybe this helps, is that you can't just go and build a house on your backyard, right? You have to put footings in. And there has to be a structure that is upon. And that structure, if you look at Ridgeland Common right now, you'll see that there is not a space to put those structures to have this elevated building or frame around it. So you can't just put a cover on the pool. You definitely have to put footings in order to be able to have a cover, and hence, and again, the shell is from 1962 and not something that we would just cover from that standpoint. And then Ridgeland Common, the question is, would we, I can't zoom.
What will be required based on age?
So, okay, so the question is that, why don't you just leave Ridgeland Common the way it is? So the reality is that it will require us to close that pool and do work. As I said, we project in 2031 for that work to be done, and that would be approximately 18 months, so we would lose a summer season from Ridgeland Common just to repair Ridgeland Common as it currently exists today. So again, it's $10 million, it's 18 months, and it's going to have to be done regardless, so that's where we're at. Do we want to repair what we have, or do we want to put a new facility that's year-round? So if the voters say yes, the Park District will hire an architect to do the design. We'll have community meetings. We'll put the project out to bid. We will begin construction. I saw one of the questions up here is like, it's going to take me 7 years to build it. Oh, please, not. The plan is that we would start the construction after the pool season of 2027, and it will be open to the community in 2029. So that's about 2 years, 18 months, 20 months. It took 14 months to build this building, if it kind of gives you an idea in regards to timing. And if the residents say no, then the Park District would engage professional services to determine exactly what repairs need to take place at Ridgeland Common for the estimate that we have of $10 million. We put it out to bid. We would start the construction in 2031. The building, the pool season would take place in 31. We would not have a pool season at Ridgeland in 2032, and it would reopen in 2033. And now we'll turn it over to Jill, and we'll go through the questions that have been submitted. Thank you.
Jan, thank you very much, kind of preempting some of those frequently asked questions, and some of which we do have But we are going to get to all of your questions. We have grouped a few of them together. Again, feel free to just bring them up and we will get them addressed. Jen, I think that when we're talking about the pool, and there's a lot of concern about Ridgeland being the location, and we have 3 or 4 mentions of why can't the pool go into or next to the CRC building where we sit now.
Yes, so the reason that we're not proposing to put it here at this location, there's a couple reasons. First of all is that we cannot make a pool, an indoor pool, net zero, and this building was built as net zero. Some people have said, well, give the money back, such and so forth, right? So I see some of that there. So we took a grant, and I just want to remind people that the concept of this project actually rolled out in February of 2020. Everybody remembers what happened in March of 2020. And there was a fundraising committee that had been put together in order to fundraise for this building. Fundraising kind of slowed down because there was a lot of uncertainty in regards to what was going on. And in some conversations with some potential foundations, the Illinois Clean Energy Community Foundation said, we will pay you the money that it costs to make your building net zero, which was $2.1 million, I believe, or somewhere in that ballpark, 2.3. And so they would give us 80%, and then we would need to come up with the other 20%. So the co-chairs at the time for that campaign actually went to the Village of Oak Park and asked the village if they would use some of their money from their sustainability plan in order to support the additional 20%. They said, yes, if you can make the building net zero, we will give you that $400,000. So the monies came from 2 different locations. They came from the Illinois Clean Energy Community Foundation, and they came from the Village of Oak Park. In regards to being able to give the money back, the foundation doesn't exist anymore. They actually wrapped up from that standpoint. But it's not about giving the money back. 2 of the values of the Park District, one is sustainability and the other is integrity. And I believe that you do what you say you're going to do. And so that is what has taken place with this building being net zero. And it's not that even if you could give the money back, the reality is that foundations and grant makers look to see what type of organization you are, and it really would put you on the hook for not being able to receive grants in the future. And I have a $600,000 grant right now for Longfellow, and so we want to be able to make sure that we're continuing to have those. What I'd also say is that when we opened this building, we thought that we would have about 3,000 members and about 1,000 people on the walking track and about 500 kids in our after-school program. I'm happy to let you all know that we are closer to 10,000 members, 3,000 of them being on the free walking track, and over 1,000 kids in our free after-school program. What that has meant is that we were very successful, and so successful that we need more energy. And so we actually went to the village last year and got a zoning ordinance changed in order to add additional solar to the parking lot. So needing the parking for the additional bodies that we have here, as well as needing the parking lot for the solar, actually is, again, one of those components. But mostly, the reason that we recommended Ridgeland Common is because there's a need for $10 million in order to repair that from a timing standpoint of our capital improvement plan and the indoor pool. And it's not financially prudent in order to operate 2 outdoor pools and 1 indoor pool. So that is the reason it was recommended, but that's a main reason why it's not being located here at the CRC.
Great, Dan. There is a CRC follow-up. What was the total development cost for the CRC facility?
$21.6 million, and $15.6 million of that was generated through individual gifts, grants, and foundation dollars.
So a lot of private dollars.
A lot of private dollars, and then $6 million came out of the Park District's capital improvement plan.
Very good, very good. When we have a very specific question with the pool, on use. If the therapy pool will be open to the public as opposed to therapy special needs, will that be the case?
Yeah, it definitely will be open to residents to be able to use for their own PT aspect, as well as, like I said, aqua fitness, being able to do walking through there, as well as potential lap swimming.
Let's talk about impact at Ridgeland. How much additional traffic would you expect if there was an indoor pool 12 months out of the year? How many additional parking spaces would be required, and will there be zero impact on the ice rink and operations?
Okay, I'm gonna start from 3 and work back up.
Okay.
There will be no impact to the ice rink during the construction. There might be some impact in regards to the entrance, so you may need to enter through the southwest doors that are there if we're doing any construction work on the front. But as far as the ice rink itself, there would not be any disruptions from that standpoint. So it will stay open the whole time that there's construction. So how many additional parking spaces? So we are not adding any additional parking spaces. As I said, the footprint that we're going to have is still the footprint where the pool is currently located. How much additional traffic? I think that the reality is that and what I'll say about the parking spaces that I mentioned at the last meeting is that we do have access to the high school's garage at certain times, and then we've also had conversations in the past that we utilize Pilgrim's parking lot. So, I mean, if in fact this comes to fruition, then we would definitely be engaging in some of those conversations to provide access from that standpoint. And as far as additional traffic, I think that there will be traffic. I don't know that there will be any more traffic than what is happening during the summertime, yeah.
Very good, thank you. A few other more specific ones. If approved, will there be no Ridgeland pools in the summer of 2028 and 29 with the new indoor pool by 2029? I think you went through that a little earlier, but maybe to clarify.
Right, so if it's approved, the plan would be to go out to bid and start the work in the fall of 27, and it would reopen in the spring of 29. So if there would be a pool, there would not be a pool operating in 2028.
Okay,
At Ridgeland, the Ream would continue to operate.
very good.
And we did that in 2013, when we were renovating the ice rink before, so we operated with one pool during that time frame.
Very good. There's been a rumor that the pool will take 7 years to complete, as you said. You had a little heart bump when you saw that, just for clarity, to remind.
No, the plan would be that it would be approximately an 18-month construction cycle.
Okay, good. Let's talk about other sites considered. Were there other sites considered when you were evaluating where would be the most economical and smartest to place this?
So like I said, we did look here and couldn't make it net zero, so that's one site. We didn't look at any other locations because, as I said earlier, we didn't want to take any green space out of operation, and also operating 2 outdoor and 1 indoor is, in my opinion, not the wisest financial decision.
Okay, very good. Why wasn't the question raised about an indoor pool when Oak Park River Forest High School was discussing its pool renovation and expansion? It seems like the timing is close, but it also seems like a lot of planning has happened on both fronts. Was there discussion with Oak Park River Forest High School on collaboration or community use?
Yeah, well, I can say that I actually talked to Gary Balling, who's my predecessor, who was here from 2000, 2012. I just spoke to him yesterday, and we were talking about pools. And he was sharing that he and the superintendent at the time talked about sharing and doing indoor pools during his tenure when they did a survey with the community back in 2010. And so I know there's been lots of conversations with the school district. I actually met with the school district in 2015, 2016, when we were talking about looking at doing a collaboration between the River Forest Park District, the Park District Oak Park, and the high school. So we've had those conversations. And then when the school district was doing their most recent renovation, we also talked to them about when they're able to open, about our utilization. And we have been assured that we will still be able to do the same that we're doing there now, which is one night a week for a couple hours, and then on Sundays for swim lessons. But again, this pool is different. This pool concept is different than River Forest. River Forest pool is a lap swim pool and a cool water pool. It's not a therapy pool, it's not a kids play pool, and it's not accessible by the community at all hours. Okay.
Yes.
Can I answer that? I'd say I can't speak for this high school, but I'm a high school principal, and so speaking for high schools generically, the facilities of the school, even though we serve the same community, first and foremost is there for the programming of the students at the high school. So the needs that the high school has for their PE curriculum, their extracurriculars, their competitive teams, will all get scheduled first, and they're always happy to share the time that's left. I actually had to cancel my swimming program at my school because we did not have a pool, and you can get pool time at 3 a.m. Not a great time to try to have swim practice or any of our activities. So I appreciate the situation that the high school is in, knowing that that facility is there to serve students first, and then they're happy to collaborate afterwards. But those prime time hours that we would want for the community are typically not available. So in two different very kinds of facilities too, not warm water, not the play area, but just straight lap swim.
Very good, thank you for that addition. A couple just data points. Again, the cost of only repairing Ridgeland Pool is?
$10 million.
Right. And that is, and that's not an option, it's a must-do.
Oh, yeah.
Sometime.
Yeah, I mean, we actually, yeah, it's not an option.
Okay. And there was one other question.
It was the cost of,
A cost of, what
CRC.
would it cost to have a pool at the CRC?
Yeah, we didn't price that, so what we did is we actually, we only priced what we have currently as the concept.
A couple questions about the Park District's capital fund. What is the current amount in the Park District's capital fund?
Please hold.
I'll give that to the dollar guy.
Mitch also explained how the funding is.
Mitch, there's how the funding gets there, and then also adding on to that, the Park District's annual operating budget.
Okay, can you repeat that? This is getting a long
Absolutely.
question.
What is the dollar amount in the Park District's capital fund? What is the dollar amount in the Park District's annual operating budget? And Jen, you had one more suggestion of,
I'll share.
okay. So operating and capital fund.
Okay, so our operating budget, it varies year to year. Those are available on our website, but that's generally in the area of $27, $28 million. Our capital fund budget, our fund balance at the end of 2024 was $5.6 million. Our capital fund is, and the 2025 audit is currently getting finished up. The capital fund, so obviously that's a far cry from $10 million, right? So the way we fund our capital program is we transfer fund balances that we earn through either tax levies in the corporate fund or recreation fund, or any profits from programs that do run at a profit, such as our day camps or after-school programs, and we're able to accumulate that money over time, transfer it on an annual basis, and that's how we save up for longer-term capital projects like that As Jan alluded to earlier, the capital program is funded by quite a bit of grants as well. She mentioned the $600,000 grant through the state that we're using at Longfellow Park. So that's not, I wouldn't say it's a primary source of funding there, but we do get whatever dollars there that we can.
I'm sorry, I don't think the question was answered. So how much is in the capital fund?
6 million as the end of 2024.
Okay. So how much is in there now?
I don't have an audited number there to get you that.
No.
Unaudited? Our estimate when we were doing our budget was about $3 million.
You went from 5.5 to 3?
That's the 2025 versus 2024 number. We did spend down fund balance when we were doing projects such as the Marine Pool project this year.
All right, very good. Thank you. Here's another question regarding the 25-meter pool being a competitive pool. And the question is, when was the last time any community built a pool at 25 yards instead of 25 meters?
You gotta turn on.
I believe that I may have misspoke, so it's a 25 meter versus a currently 50 meter.
Okay, so it is a 25-meter pool.
You're
that is-
sure of that, because all of the communication says yards.
We'll check on that.
Yeah, thank you for bringing that up. We'll take a look, but you can confirm it is meters, not yards.
Yeah.
Okay,
Half the distance that it currently is.
all right. And then the why Ridge and Pool instead of building the pool at the CRC?
I think I answered that.
Yeah, you did. Okay. If the bond referendum to support a new indoor aquatics facility is not supported, what money needs to be spent on Ridgeland Commons outdoor pool to keep it in working order? I think, did you address that?
Yeah, and so again, I just want to make sure that people understand. So the pool's from 1962. That means the piping is from 1962, which means that it's not just concrete. So it would be approximately $10 million, which is what we estimate by the year of 2031. So again, that's 5 years from now, looking at an escalation component. And that would be for concrete work as well as for the drains, the piping, all those elements that would need to take place.
Okay, we have a couple questions here related, so we'll combine them. Could a 3-season portable cover be used to make Ridgeland Common an indoor pool in winter, spring, fall? And also, there's been some successful examples of movable domes over like the YMCA and other park districts' outdoor pools for winter use, giving an example of Anderson Township, YMCA in Cincinnati. Was this considered? So, covers.
Yeah, so what I would say about those locations is that if you were to look at them, they are on large plots of ground. So there's lots of green space around that you can actually anchor and do those things. We do not have that luxury with Ridgeland Commons. So as I discussed earlier, foundations would be required in order to hold that level of structure in place at that location.
And thank you. A couple cost questions from a couple different folks. And you may have already said it, but we'll go over again. Why exactly does the indoor pool cost $40 million? Where does that number come from?
So that was pulled together when we did the concept, and it was based on construction cost as well as the soft cost. So again, the factor of 1.3% was used for soft cost. And then we put in an escalation for this. Again, it was created in 2025. And so again, knowing that the project wouldn't happen for like 2 years, so they put in an escalation, meaning that they have a projected amount of 35.3 to 40.7 million. So we did the 40 million. Again, we would monitor that, and we would take what is necessary in order to build. We wouldn't take extra. We would again, but this is the cost estimate.
So the question is this a final price? You're saying it's capped at the 40, but could come under less depending on what the final plan is.
Right, so if you want a retractable roof in there, or some other components, we'll probably get closer to that 40. But again, this is a working budget.
So there could be a possible way to cut down on the cost if fewer amenities are added?
I think that, unfortunately, the costs are somewhat fixed, but again, there's not tariffs now, maybe, but maybe there would be an opportunity, but again, we would, this is our working budget.
Okay. With originally requiring 10 million, regardless of what happens, and the new pool coming in at 40 million, is there a scenario where we can keep our outdoor pool for 10 million and have a $30 million indoor pool?
Yeah, I think I've spoken to that a couple times. So the reality is that an indoor pool is not, well, as I just shared with you on the budget component. So the 40 million is actually taking advantage of some of the infrastructure already being in place with the administration and those types of components. So there's actually, it would actually cost more than 30 million to build this type of indoor pool in a different location. Additionally, the recommendation is not to take green space from this community for an indoor pool when we already have one outdoor pool.
All right, very good. Here are a couple other technical questions. How are you handling plans for additional parking? And you said right now that's not a part of what I recall. Is that correct?
Yeah, and as I said, we would have conversations with some of the surrounding partners to see if there's opportunities to share similar to what we do with the ice show.
Okay. The outdoor pool is very crowded when camps are using it. How is REAM planning on handling additional swimmers if more people want to go there during construction or if there's an indoor?
Yeah, so with the camps, so as I had suggested, the camps, the swim lessons, aqua fitness, those elements actually come out of the outdoor pool, so it reduces the load and then they go into the indoor component. And so that will reduce the number. We also could look at extending some of the hours. I know we've talked about that in order to spread some of the usage out.
And the additional bathing capacity.
So,
The additional bathing capacity.
oh, and yeah, the additional bathing capacity that we currently have with the new amenity that's been added.
And what about Forest Park?
So, one of the conversations.
And we have a question.
We have a question about
So
that.
we're gonna fold that in, actually, a statement about Forest Park, 30 to 50% capacity use at Ridgeland. So what's, on capacity, but Forest Park partnership is the question.
Yes, so when I started hearing when this referendum question came out that people were concerned about only having one outdoor pool, I had a conversation with the executive director in Forest Park, and because she had said, if the referendum passes, she'd love to have a conversation about the indoor pool. So I called her up, we had a conversation, and I asked, in theory, would her and her board support the Park District of Oak Park residents who have a pool pass being able to use that pool pass in Forest Park as well as in Oak Park. And then in exchange, we would give them resident rates to use the indoor pool. She thought that it was a good idea. I ran it past my board, which in concept was a good idea. So nothing's been agreed upon because we don't have an indoor pool. But the thinking is that's a way to spread it out. There's also other things that we can do. So we can spread some of the hours out. We can also reduce the number of daily passes that we sell. Currently, we don't restrict that, but Forest Park does. Forest Park only allows a set number of daily passes, and then after that, it's only pass holders. So we could look at a variety of different options if we find it's crowded, but based on the calculations that staff have done in regards to the utilization, is that, and I gotta find my notes because I don't have it memorized, is that there was, I had those numbers. There was only a couple days that they actually met the capacity at REAM, and never at Ridgeland, and so I can get those numbers pulled back together, but again, there's not, Ridgeland operates somewhere around 39 to 53% on on a daily basis. Again, there's a few days that we hit capacity at Ridgeland, I'm sorry, at Ream, but never at Ridgeland.
Okay, very good. Thank you. A question from different perspective, why not build on another site and shut down Ream Pool and make it a parking lot? Is that ever considered, or that's a suggestion?
Yeah, I guess I would say that, somebody told me that those used to be tennis courts. Is that what I understood? They used to be tennis courts where the pool is currently located. So I guess it could be anything, right? I think that this would, again, go against the philosophy of trying to maintain as much green space as possible for the residents.
We talked and you shared with everyone here about the surveys, kind of people saying we want a pool, we want an indoor pool. It has a few questions about the surveys, actually. Did any survey ask if the people wanted to close Ridgeland Common?
No, the survey wasn't specific in regards to the location, it was more in regards to the amenity. But I'm gonna give it to Jeff so that he can talk specifically about the next thing, which is in regards to how many people and the,
So Jeff, while is coming over there, there's the second part of that question is how can 891 people, fit into this as a space of, sorry, not it. Oh, Jan's got that one. About the survey regarding Ridgeland. Were there any questions about Ridgeland Common being a part of the pool survey?
No, when we did this, survey, the 2022 survey, the second one, the question that Jan showed up on the chart about willingness to pay, knowing that it would require higher property taxes to cover the pool, was in concept only. At that time, we were just trying to see, is there willingness among the community residents to support higher property taxes to pay for an indoor pool, because the current budget wouldn't be able to accomplish that. Again, it was just in concept. There were no thoughts as to where it would be, what it would look like, what the scope of it would be, beyond some of the general dollar amounts that we tested in that question. So we didn't test, would you support it at this location or at that location, because those locations weren't factored in at that time.
Can we just? Ask you something about that? So as it relates to that, since that wasn't specified because you didn't know that, can you read the referendum language to the group? Because I think that's one of the things I find most surprising when people that I talk to are completely clueless that Ridgeland is going away. They don't know that. I mean, I've been speaking with a lot of community members and people are
So we do have a question about that.
So I wondered if you might read the referendum language, just to, we have it. It's in the flyer on that, but I just wondered if we could make sure.
I think it on the information sheets that were out front.
Right. Right, I guess my point is I just wanna make sure everybody understands that that language does not talk about removing Ridgeland. Even though it says it on that flyer, there are a lot of people that aren't reading it. How is that getting?
So the referendum question is,
Your question is how can that be remedied?
shall the Park District of Oak Park, Cook County, Illinois, build and equip an indoor aquatic facility and issue its bonds to the amount of $40 million for the purpose of paying for the cost thereof? So we don't put everything into a referendum question, so we don't put, again, the times and the facility locations and those things. And part of the reason is that referendum questions come out, and then the whole purpose of the 3 months plus leading up to it is to provide that education. And so everybody's gonna be getting a postcard in their mailbox. You should have already gotten one in early January. That this one specifically calls out, because that's been a question that's been asked over and over, it specifically calls out that it will be replacing Ridgeland Common. That is the language that's also going to be in the village FYI that comes out as well. And so we've updated it in our FAQs, so all that information is there and available. And so, again, it's not trying to hide it, it's just, this is the educational purpose to help people understand what in essence they're voting for.
Excuse me, I know, just to clarify what she said though, the vote would be to get rid of Ridgeland Common. Is that
The vote would be to build an indoor pool, and it would be built at Ridgeland Common.
So,
Replacing the existing.
yes, but yet, in the vote, what we're voting for, like if someone just walked in there and they weren't aware, they would be voting to get rid of the pool that's there. But there's no way from reading that they know that. Isn't that true?
It is true that if you just read this, but again, part of the education process over the last 2 months and the next month is to provide that information so that people do know what they are in essence voting for.
But if nobody got any of that, just when you walk in the vote, just to clarify, if you walk in to vote and you don't, all you know is what you're reading right there, couldn't you easily think, oh, I would like an indoor pool, that sounds cool, I'll vote in favor of that. And you would have no knowledge that your vote is actually saying, I'm voting to get rid of Ridgeland Common. Isn't that true? Yes,
Yes,
that is
yeah,
true.
yes,
that's
I
true.
mean, I think we all agree.
We all agree.
Nobody
So-
disagrees.
Okay, nobody disagrees, but, so you would agree that this is sort of, I wouldn't know, duplicative?
Yeah,
maybe?
no, the language itself, and we can go to the general counsel, because this has come up before, so thank you for raising it.
Okay.
And it was drafted actually by the bond company, which is standard procedure. And it is on the ballot now, which you'll have access to on Monday, and you can start voting on Monday. So if you could give a little history just for satisfaction.
So this is a bond referendum. It's, the purpose is to ask the voters if they want the $40 million in the bonds, and it provides the amount of the bonds and then the purpose of it, which is to build the indoor aquatic center. As you know, Jan has explained, the proposal for what the aquatic center is, that's a fairly broad term because it's in concept only, so that the voters, what you're voting for, and what, in a bond referendum is for those two questions, the bond and then the purpose of the bonds. And then once it's a yes or no, if it is a yes, then the concept is fleshed out as to what is going into for the project, which is the indoor aquatic facility in this case, and then the park district has up to $40 million to put it. And what Janice and the park district is telling you is that the location and the concept of the only feasible location would be in the replacement of the pool. But that's not in the referendum question itself, because the question is just, it's a bond referendum for the issuance of the bonds, and then use that money for the project which is the indoor aquatic center.
Thank you, but then wouldn't you say that if you vote in favor, Ridgeland Pool is gone? That's true, right? That's true, isn't it?
That's what I can let the council say, but the issuance, then you go to the project itself, which is the concept has to be fleshed out, and that's for, the park district with community input to go, which the park district is telling all of its residents that the only feasible option to complete this project is at this one location.
So it's
Be on the ballot,
Yeah, it
because
should-
not everybody comes to these things.
Yeah.
That's the
I
point.
guess what I was saying before.
Yeah,
all
they're
due
not telling
respect,
us.
I'm sure you're crossing the T's and dotting the I's. The word's not getting out there, because
Yeah.
I talked to a lot of people
Yeah.
that came to the first meeting and got here
Think of the
tonight,
voters.
but the people don't know, so.
Please direct them to the website, they can watch this meeting.
I'm not gonna be talking to.
No, but that's why we videotape these meetings and make them public, that's why the flyers are going out. There is some individual, I don't work for the park district, okay? But there's some individual responsibility to find out what you're voting for versus,
No,
so,
I,
our park board,
I can appreciate where you're coming from.
I will say that as a board member, we have committed to doing it in that location. We've been as transparent as we can. If we could the line becomes, then people will ask, well, how many bodies of water will there be? But people will draw that line in different places, and we need to
Your
be.
language is you've committed to that location, but you haven't committed to the full concept. But the location is no longer a concept, it's a commitment. You just said that.
That's right.
You're not committed to that location.
I agree, but
It's
different
not a
people,
concept.
yes, but there are also other things that are not concept that we put out there, and everybody has a different point of where they want that information. We have been very transparent at all of our meetings, all of the communications that are going out, and hopefully our community is invested enough in a ballot to investigate what's going on in their election coming up. And
You're
it's very
asking
simple.
too much of the voters.
Why can't you just make the language?
Why can't you just make it easy for the voters?
The language is now set, correct?
Alright,
From
if
a
it's
legal
set-
counsel, it is set, cannot be changed.
Can't be
Ballots
changed.
are
This is
printed.
what my question was about. If it's set, then can you have it very clearly put at every polling place? And put out posters and handouts so people, with a nice picture of the pool, so people know what it's about. If the language is already set, then 25 yards is already set too, because that is in the language of everything that has been published, and it's the number one.
The ballot question does not say that. It says, equip an indoor aquatic facility and issue bonds in the amount of $40 million. So again, that is not in there, and we will check that and make that clarification. But again, I appreciate your sentiments. I hear you, and we are trying to make sure that as many people know what they're voting for. There will be a ballot. I've seen lots of feedback from residents in a variety of different social media posts. And so I believe that that information is getting out. And I know that there's a lot of people visiting our website as well as watching these videos. And so I'm glad that we're recording them instead of just requiring people to come to the meeting.
I have an easy question, and you've answered most of my questions, and I thank you for that. The question that I have is, what would the additional cost be? Instead of looking only at current parcels of land, of acquiring, say, 20,000 square feet, there is some parcels available in Oak Park that might meet that. What would it add to the cost?
Like the cement factory.
Exactly.
The difficulty with that is that you're gonna pay the price of the land, but you're also going to hugely increase the cost of the facility because we have all of the infrastructure at Ridgeland. And so
I understand that.
you're probably, I mean, again, I'm an architect, you're probably looking north of $55 million at that point. So you're making a huge impact on the capital cost, but I would also add, then you're going back and you're having 3 pools in this district.
Well, that was
3 pools are extremely expensive to operate. So,
that was the one part of one of my questions that was not specifically responded to. Then you can shut down the pool. So you're not operating 3 pools, but I agree with you that there's a huge additional cost. I got my answer, thank you.
okay, and what I would add to that, as one of the things that I view very important in this is the overall cost as a board member. And what we were trying to do is figure out how we could meet this need that we've heard from the community, or this desire, I won't say need, this desire through the surveys, but find a way to do it in the most economical way possible. That's what we've put in front of you, is to try to use to cover a capital cost, the $10 million that's already sunk cost. If we go somewhere else, that still has to happen. If we spend the $40 million, that doesn't have to happen. If we come here, we again have long-term maintenance costs with those buildings. So this, to me, is the staff coming together and the board saying we want to provide an option for this amenity, but do it in a way that's respectful to the taxpayers and the fees that they would have to pay to do it. And we think this is the best balance between all of these things. If there's something that is a lightning rod for you that is on the wrong side of this, then please vote against. That's why we're giving you the information to do that. So we tried to do the best balancing job that we could as a board. I think staff responded to our request very well and given us a great opportunity, and we're trying to get that information out to everyone possible in the most transparent way that we can.
Can I
Grace,
make one
thank
more
you.
point? I just want to say that I think some of the people that are getting most impacted are young families with little kids who lead really busy lives. I can come tonight because I'm retired. A lot of them aren't here. They're not on social media. They're not reading the Park District website. They have very busy lives. They are some of the people in my neighborhood. They're like, what are you talking about? When did they decide that? No clue. So I'm just letting you know.
No, I appreciate that. And one of the things I would also say about the Moore site is that making it more centrally located in Oak Park, that's something we also hear a lot about, right? And so Bridgeland is actually a more centrally located spot than putting it down in the Moore site.
Good. Let's talk about referendum, Dan. The question is, when was the last time that a referendum, the referendum was passed in 2005. Has there been a ballot that did not pass a ballot initiative?
No, the Park District went in 2005, and as Mitch was talking earlier, it was a quarter increase, so it was actually a rate increase, and that in turn made it where the village no longer was paying the Park District $1.3 million to run the community centers, and 50% of that 20 cents automatically goes 25 cents automatically goes into our capital improvement plan, and that's one of the major ways it's funded.
Very good, thank you. Another one, more technical on the designs, which are not final, but why did the architects put the windows facing north? That it's a very inefficient way for heating. Potentially, south facing would be better. Do we know? We'll ask the architect.
Actually, north-facing glass is better because you don't have the solar gain, because then you have to cool the building, and that cost gets exponential. The other thing is that you get a lot of glare through south-facing glass because the sunlight will come straight in. North-facing glass gives you indirect light, so it lights it up without glare, which is particularly important in a pool because of reflection off the water surface. So it's a very, very well designed, very sustainably designed. That's how you do things sustainably, is face to the north. So again, that solar gain during the summer doesn't pile up.
Thank you, Chris. Appreciate that. Question, how can 891 people fit into the same space as 550 people? Water space is the same.
So again, the calculations are what I'm utilizing, and so again, it's based on square footage. That doesn't mean that that's how many people will let in. That means that that's what it can handle. And so 891 is the maximum. It does take into account people, like I said, being in the locker rooms, being on the deck, not necessarily being in. But again, it's calculations based on square footage that is determined by IDPH.
Okay.
I also would think that because the indoor pool will be open longer, you're not gonna have everybody during the morning, so you'll have more people throughout the day.
I definitely agree that the reality is that the pool will have longer hours, and I think that it will be based on the time of day. So whether it's swim lessons, we know that the busy time for that, if we're working with little toddlers and infants, could be in the morning time. But in the after school time, would like the 4 to 5, that would be when we would be doing those lessons. Therapy would be at a different time. The weekends will probably be really busy. That's what we see in most aquatic facilities like this, is that the lawn pool, which is the lab/community pool, and the aqua therapy are very busy during the week, and then that splash pad really comes alive on the weekends, just based on kids being in school.
Good. Another question about the parking, if it's winter all year long, I think we talked about other facilities perhaps being available, in winter to relieve parking that will draw more people to that site.
Yeah, I think that, again, as I said in one meeting, it's no park, Oak Park. So the reality is parking's a challenge everywhere, right? And so we would definitely try to make use of the high school parking garage, as well as working with some of our neighbors, looking at spaces for people to park, and again, being able to maximize that.
Very good. And then how much of the previously renovated Ridgeland Commons space would be disrupted or reworked if the indoor pool was built?
So this is a concept, and so based on the existing concept, the recommendation is that we would look to move the entrance to where like the customer service desk is now. And so that's more in the middle of the site. And then when you come in, you would either go right to the rink or left to the pool. And so I don't have a percent standpoint, but like one of the multi-purpose rooms would stay intact. The one that's to the north, right off of the customer service desk, that would become more of a locker room space, and then that would be relocated. So there is some internal components. I don't have the percent, but again, this is the concept, so we would be working to determine what's the best use of those spaces.
Thank you. In that same vein, there was a thoughtful question about how the space is used now at Ridgeland Common. That there's often classes fill up, and why can't we have accommodation and plan for the needs of residents who weekly pay for fitness classes at Ridgeland Common?
So we would absolutely be looking at any new space that we have. Whenever we do spaces and we're building like this, we do it for multi-purpose, so it can be used for multiple things. So it depends on the demand and the schedule and what's going on. But any spaces that are built would be built multi-purpose. So, you know, you're not gonna do a kid's birthday party at 6 a.m. on a Monday, you know, so maybe that's when you do something else. So we will be looking at any space that we have and how we can maximize it and do the most we can in any of the buildings.
Can I follow up on that, please?
One of the things I'd say also is that we actually have some larger classes that actually perform up here in the gymnasium. So again, we have fitness classes. The good news is that we have a lot of facilities, and so we spread those out. So we have fitness classes that are at Stevenson, at the Dole Center, at Ridgeland, at the Gymnastics Center, as well as here. So we try to spread those out as well.
Can I follow up on that, please? The problem is that the multi-purpose rooms do not function for fitness classes. There are several of us here who sweated out in those rooms because there's no air movement, there are no ceiling fans, the weights rooms are hard to get into, and the classes are already booked as it is. There are 23 classes at Ridgeland right now, and most of those are filled with wait lists. And so multi-purpose rooms don't work for that number of people. There's like 400 people a week going to fitness classes there. And a multi-purpose room, why aren't you accommodating them?
So I know that Erin, who is scheduling all the classes, has been adding classes, and so if there are capacity issues and things like that, then we should be evaluating that now, not as part of the future.
The room is the problem.
Okay, well,
We have this.
yeah, it is a great room, and if we're reaching capacity and, you know, we're turning people away, then we should be looking at adding more classes, so we can definitely evaluate that now. We don't need to do a project to do that, and then, you know, I'll reach out to the maintenance team about if the temperature's not good.
The sound system has been broken.
The sound system has been ordered. A contract was signed yesterday for $16,000. So a new sound system has been ordered and should be there in the next couple weeks. That was signed off on yesterday.
Let's keep moving on this out of respect for everyone else. Chris, please, go ahead.
Got handed a question about would a retractable roof give more or less the same feel as an outdoor pool? I'm essentially asking, would it be worth doing from a user experience slash aesthetic perspective? I don't think it would be the same as being outdoors, because in any form of a retractable roof, you're gonna have high walls all the way around you. Would it allow in some sunlight? Yes. I don't think it'd be the same feel. You also aren't gonna get the cross ventilation, the winds that kind of come with an actual outdoor pool. So could it elevate the experience in terms of allowing daylight in? I think there's possibilities, but don't think of it as feeling the same, because again, as Jan has referred to, there's structure that needs to hold that up that's going to be fairly opaque in many forms, and you're going to feel much more enclosed in that instance.
Thank you,
Can I
Chris.
follow up on that question? So was it considered, was the cost considered, and is it still under consideration, or has the design been set without it? And, you know, say more, please.
So as I shared earlier, we have looked at what it would cost to put a retractable roof in. It is somewhere between $3 and $6 million. And but we also need to understand that if in fact that is done, there are energy implications that take place as it relates to that. But again, so it has been considered. It is if the community votes to go to referendum, then when we're in the design process in regards to finalizing what the concept will be in those community meetings, that's when it will be studied in more detail.
Thank you. Because that's less than 10% of the total cost and has an enormous impact on user experience.
Okay.
May I just have a question. I was surprised that, because I've seen the pictures of the 3 pools, that was more of a concept phase, where I thought that was kind of like a done deal, that the pool would be a 25-meter pool and not a 50-meter pool. Is there, if this does pass, has an enclosed just 50-meter pool been looked at, or it will be definitely 3 sections, or is then that up to a vote and then up to the community?
So it would not be financially prudent to just enclose 50-meter pool lap lanes. The money that gets generated off of these and based on our pro forma is based on warm water therapy as well as the kid component. And therefore, we did look at kind of putting in like 3 50-meter lanes, and the reality was that we thought by putting 8 lanes, shorter lanes, it would allow more lap swim opportunities. So we have looked at a couple of those. But just enclosing or just having 50-meter lap lanes is not prudent for an indoor pool.
I'd also add, from a board perspective, the information that we're getting out there, as Jan said, is hitting different demographics. Obviously young kids areas for young families, warm water therapy pool, all those hit different demographics, and we can't shift away from those without really strong reasoning, because the people who might support the referendum based on that, I wouldn't feel comfortable pulling that away from them. Now, there are other things like if costs go through the roof, then we maybe have to make changes. But we've committed to certain typologies in this, and we will adhere to those as best we can to be honest with the people that we're sharing this information with right now.
So Chris, to clarify, this is really just a step of, yes, we want an indoor facility, but the plans for that are going to be really brought back to the community and a lot of community input.
Yeah, and I think Jan gave a great example is there's gonna be a kids area, and is that an 18-inch deep, or is that a 0 depth, or is that a splash pad? Those are all in the same family, I would say, so that they serve the same people. So recognizing that we have made a commitment to those people in that demographic, I would want to honor that. So I, as a board member, but not to say that there can't be some really good discussions about the development of the detail of each of those areas. And because of that commitment, a 15-meter pool, as Jan said, that was explored, and it just doesn't, it takes up a lot of room. I'm a lap swimmer. I love going to Ridgeland. That's the pool. I'm up on the north side. I come down. I really love that. I will miss that if this is approved. I will try to get myself down to Ream, but I think, you know, the thing to do is do the advantages balance some of those things that will be removed, and that's the tough decision, and that's where we want you to have as much information as you can to make the decision that's right for you.
Can I answer that? In addition to what Chris just said, and we have heard, you know, the picture is a concept, and we've been trying to clarify, it's not the plan, it's not fully rendered architectural drawings, it's a concept to just kind of generally say, these are the general areas. Our master planning process that we follow for every park and facility renovation would be what was followed if this passes, which is, at that point then, we engage an architect to do a full plan, and different scenarios are drawn up that are brought out to public meetings where people can see the different ideas, generate their own ideas, give input on that, and it's a thorough multi-meeting process of gathering more feedback about the specifics of what the project would actually be. But that is a step beyond yes or no, you have the money to build it, and then we engage in that process.
Very good. Jen, did you have anything else? You're good. We have gone through the questions. We had one statement. I appreciate the Park District exploring the options in such detail and certainly sharing so we can make an informed decision. I think it's a nice way to wrap that it is a decision that you made. This was to empower you, to give you the knowledge, and hopefully if you want to watch this again, it'll be posted on the website. Can you bring your question up afterward?
I did, but you didn't answer it.
Which one? Sorry.
The Moore site.
I think we did talk about that.
The Moore site, with the village approved taking that land off the tax rolls.
Yeah, I'm not the village, and I would never speak for them, but what I would say is that, to Chris's point earlier, I think that not only the purchase of the land, but taking it off the tax roll, there's a lot more cost involved from that standpoint.
Yeah. So thank you. I thought we had covered that with Chris's comment on your.
I don't think you covered my question completely about the referendum, which I shouted out earlier, is can you post something at the polling places that, and do handouts there to inform the voters more clearly of what's happening with that referendum?
Well, I'll let Jan answer that, but that's a lot like campaigning, and that's not permitted by a government entity, but I'll let you answer that.
Yeah, the reality is that, like I said, we are putting it in, that was in the last FYI, it's in this FYI, it's in our program guide, it's in our website, it's on our postcards that are being sent out. So again, we are not here to tell people to vote yes or no, we're here to provide the information and let the residents make the decision moving forward.
Thank you all very much for coming. We appreciate it, and vote. Go vote.